Welcome to StreamSemester.com's Teaching to the Test Pattern. Here is your host, Tom White. Really, that's all you want me to say? Nothing about the show? Just here's Tom? Conceited much?
Hey, buddy, welcome to StreamSemester.com's Teaching to the Test Pattern. I am Tom White, and I've been called conceited before. I'm live in Albertville, Alabama. We're at the Albertville Innovation Academy, and this is Teaching to the Test Pattern, and that is my buddy, Billy Dunn. Billy, thank you so much.
Thank you. That was a really cool open. I really like that.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I hired her off the internet. Billy, we were just downstairs. We were getting ready for the Alabama AV Teachers Boot Camp that starts tomorrow morning here in Albertville. And as we were talking, I was like, this is a podcast. Let's go upstairs. So we've got a vid pod upstairs to play with this week while we're here. Billy, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and a little bit about AIA's program here.
So I am Billy Dunn. I've been in the industry for around 10 years, freelanced for a couple of companies out of Indiana, and then worked for local news for the past, I would say, 8 to 10 years. It's kind of all flown by. And I, always wanted to teach here, so I always wanted to teach this program, and just kind of stuck with it and found, I feel like the perfect opening for me, and came over to Albertville High School 3 years ago, and then they split off and created the Albertville Innovation Academy, and it's a really, really great place to work. My plan was always to go back to Birmingham. That's where my wife's from. And, after kind of being here and talking to other teachers, like, I think I really want to stick it out here and kind of, end my career at a place like this, because it's been great.
Excellent. And we're here this week to do the AV Teacher Boot Camp. And when you and I first met, I remember out there in the parking lot, the building wasn't open yet. You were like, hey, dude, that thing I'll do in Georgia, I want to do it right here next summer. And we did it last summer, and we're back this year. Pretty excited about it.
Yeah, it's just, we go to your first year into teaching, you leave the industry, and, if you were like I did, I didn't go to a lot of conferences, or at least I wasn't a part of a lot of conferences. I might covered them, but I was never really a part of conferences. Didn't really know, what entailed a school's or the state of Alabama's educational conferences. It was so foreign to me. And we went to a lot, and I got to notice, and I was like, man, there's a lot of people here who I need help from, and there's a lot of people here who I could help too. So instead of meeting here and getting 1 hour out of a week, why don't we go and have a couple of days ourselves? And so last year I think it went really well. Just having somebody you can lean on. A lot more people. Before, I would say it was just a couple of people I was going through my first year with. We would have the same problems. I might share some ideas, and now we're kind of getting, like last year, we got to meet some veteran teachers and hear about what they did, and it was just opens up all these possibilities where I might not do it exactly like they do, but I can kind of curtail it into what I do and make myself better.
And the fun thing about last year was that there were only 8 people here. You could not have found a better 8 people to put in a room for the first year of a conference. You had Tim, who's all about sports. You had Candace, who's like the queen of curriculum. You had Isaiah Harper, who's like the news guy. You literally had across the board, Mark with lighting, and then you with your sports and news background, and then David Israel, who was a new teacher just trying to figure it out, and Brad and everybody who was here. It was the perfect mix.
Yeah, everybody contributed. I feel like most people got up and presented, but if they didn't, the discussions, like, you still contribute. Even if you don't, you come and you're like, I'm too nervous, I don't want to present. Just being in the conversations, and that's kind of what this is doing. It's a 3-day long conversation we get to have with each other that we don't get to have anywhere else in the state. And so the fact that I have a really good CT director, and he kind of backed me on this, and we have the PD working on that part, new at this, still trying to figure some things out. But it was really, it was a selfish thing. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I need help. Hey, I know, let's have a conference. And for it to start off with that very selfish idea, and work its way into kind of now we're getting almost this year we have a whole new set of people. There's a couple of people that are getting to come back, but we have a whole new set of people, and just getting those ideas and having a place to meet. I feel like Alabama's AV Arts, we're kind of building it up and starting to kind of rejuvenize this.
Yeah, one of the cool things is as I was driving up here earlier today, I was like, man, only like 3 people are coming back from last year. But then I was like, well, they've still got school. This person's got sports, and it's like, okay, well, there's a reason. And all of them have said, I would love to come back.
No, everybody has just been like, man, that was so great. That was such a great, because, you see them at Skills USA or, JLDC or anything like that. You see them like, man, that was so great. Let's do that again. And it really was. And I don't think anybody left here last year going, I don't think I have to come back to this. I think I've seen everything. Because it's always changing. It's up to us to kind of keep that thing evolving.
And the recipe on this, I stole from Georgia. I mean, when I in Georgia, it's Camp T&I, and here it's the boot camp. But the key is that the teachers show up and they present to each other. So, the last couple of weeks I've been like, hey, I saw your name on the roster, want to present? And, everybody was like, yeah, I'd love to. Some people were like, I'd love to, but, and that's totally okay too. I mean, it's one of those things where for me, I really want you guys to build that community to where you're like, all right, if I need lighting, call Mark. Yeah. I need sports, call Tim. I'm tanking at this teaching thing, call Candace. And this year it's going to be, I don't know how to score things, call Justin. I'm working on podcasting, call Alex. And that's the beauty of this. And the recipe is simple. Short sessions taught by teachers with a big lunch break in the middle, lots of snacks in the back of the room, and just let conversations happen.
And that's really, I like the fact that I get 12 to 20 people in a room every year, and I say, hey, whatever you need, I don't have the answers, but I'll help you figure it out. Like we don't have to. It's really, there's not another AV Arts teacher down the hall that you can go bounce ideas off of, like there is science teachers. So we don't have that in-house. If you do, you're very lucky to have a partner teacher, because it is very hard. But Alex Jones at Thompson High School, call me anything you need. This is your first year. Call me anytime you need me. He would call sometimes just a vent, and that's kind of it. It's good because a lot of us come from the same background. We know how to kind of relate our past lives with the lives we're in now, and just being able to talk. And a lot of it is just reassuring. Especially, it's something that I didn't really have my first year. It's that imposter syndrome. You're like, I shouldn't be here. Like I was always the one that went to the principal's office because I was in trouble. What am I doing teaching? And so to have that where you can kind of lean on somebody and them just to tell you like, no, like you worked your tail off to get here. Don't give up because you don't think you deserve. Like keep working. Like keep going. You deserve to be here. You're doing a great job. And so just having that, I feel like. Just that last year, we developed that with each other, and we can. That's an accomplishment right there.
Yeah. So let's talk about imposter syndrome, because that's really why I was like, let's go make a podcast, because you and I were down and talking, and you guys have made some big changes. In year 1, you were at the high school. Year 2, you opened this. Year 3, they put a little tiny TV screen at your football stadium, and they put some in your gym. So. You were talking about how you feel like this year you feel exactly like you did last year. Talk about that.
Yeah, I feel this year I've everything that was put in front of me, I knocked it down, but I didn't grow. I didn't get better. I feel like the classroom I lacked in. It was just let's just get it done instead of hey, are you understanding this completely? And so a lot of the things I feel. But it goes back to that imposter. I don't know what year 3 is supposed to look like. When I moved from ABC 3340 to Fox 6, I know what year 2, year 3 is going to look like. I know what those – I don't know. So you're kind of just like flying in the dark. You're like, okay, I'm going to follow these GPS coordinates. I hope they're right. And so it's just that uncertainty would well up. And then we would do something and achieve something. And I had a really bad job of not – taking a minute and realizing what we did. I'm just like, we're not good enough. We got to keep, so it's that drive really because like you said, my year one, there was no year one. We were trying to develop this. My year two, we moved in the day before the kids got, y'all gave me the keys to this studio 2 days before the kids got here. So it was, again, flying by the seat of, our pants and just, building the plane as we flew. And then this year, 5 jumbotrons, 5 sports, and every single one of those jumbotrons were installed after the start of the regular season. We got our football jumbotron at 2 o'clock on a Friday, and our second home game of the year was at 7. So it was just things like that, and I'm really proud of. That's the one thing I know I can offer somebody. I can't offer you. I'm not a smart guy, believe it or not. I'm not a smart guy, but the one thing I can offer you is I'm going to work hard, and it's gotten me out of every gym I've ever been in. It's just work hard, and so this year that's what we did. We worked hard, and to see the kids towards the end of the year. Like their drives were getting a little bit better because they saw us as a whole, and I'm like, hey guys, here's what we're achieving, here's what we're working on. So it's been a very it's just been, every year's been different. I've never had a year like, I guess from year 2 to year 3 I could build off of that a little bit, but at the end of the year I'm like, wait a minute, okay, what do I do now? Like let's start thinking about it. So we're gonna spend this summer growing. I didn't want to work during the summer, but I want to grow. So we're working with a couple of kids, shooting some football content, getting that going. And so it's been a very, it's one of those things. It's like, how are you doing at your job? I don't know. I'm just doing my job. I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing well. Everybody's happy. I don't know. I go home stressed every night. I come to work stressed every night. And then I just work in between those stress sessions. But it's like, I can see it slowly start to form how I want to do it. And when I have those moments, I'm like, okay, I'm happy. I'm happy for a minute. And my kids got a kick out of it because we were in NASA's HURT competition the first year, my second year, and we didn't win. And not winning things makes me mad. I'm just one of those people. My wife hates playing board games with me because if I don't win, I'm mad. And so I told my kids, I said, hey, we're going to win next year. Like, mark it down. We're going to win next year. And we came back and worked, and I just kept saying, hey, like, we got to keep going. We got to win. Like, don't take points away from the team. And we kept building it up. And at the end of the year, I said, okay, when I don't win, I'm not happy. And I held the trophy up. I said, now I'm happy. And let's go home. And so it was an all in all, it was a really great year. I think I could have done better, though. I really did.
Well, I think that is something that, honestly, it's one of the most frustrating things. It's like being a parent. Like, only the bad parents think they're killing it. Same with teaching. Only bad teachers think they're killing it. I will tell you this as a quasi-outsider, you're killing it. 2 thoughts that I have for you. One is, what I think you're experiencing is what AV education is becoming. I don't think AV education, when I was teaching, it was about what are the kids learning? Do they know how to do these things? Can they check all these boxes? That game's changed. It's now, what are they producing? Is there good in that? Yeah. Is there bad in that? Yeah. But I really do see that what you're setting up is really what the watermark for AV education is going to become, in that your students producing content is going to be, because we don't have to teach them how to use cameras anymore. We don't have to teach them how to use microphones anymore. We just have to teach them how to do it well, because they've never not known their phone in their pocket, or like me under this table and freaking out a little bit. But they've never not known that. And they've never not, and this next generation has never not known the little mics on shirt collars, the things that you and I still cringe about.
Yeah, that's something that I learned this year. My first year I came in, I just left the industry. In my opinion, and I don't know if it's even an opinion, I think it's pretty fact, worked for the best station, Fox 6, WBRC in Birmingham. They're like at the gold standard. I came in, I was like, we've got, if it won't go on Fox 6, it's not going on. I really had those thoughts. I really did. And so I'm like, we can't. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I was wrong. And so for a year, we didn't really put much out. I had some really good seniors. I kind of came in and was like, look, I don't want to disrupt y'all senior year. Y'all tell me what you want to do. And so I let them work on, senior spotlights and things like that. And they did a really great job. I helped them along the way when I could. But we just weren't there, equipment. Like, when those kids come back and they see what I have now, they're just in shock. And so, year two, we were really getting that content out, I thought. And it was really good quality. But it's one of those things where I feel like I'm young. I don't think I'm this old. 41 years old, I feel, fairly young. But when we look at the way we take in our media, and the way that we delivered media when we worked for it, it's changed. In the 3 years that I've been out of industry, it has changed so much. And now, if you don't listen to your audience, maybe it hasn't changed for you. If you go and listen to your audience and listen to the people they want more things, and the content can kind of slip away a little bit, or not content, quality. Quality can kind of slip away. It's so. When I was talking to a teacher or somebody who was getting into teaching, and they were like, when do I teach, frame rate? When should I teach that? I go, I don't know. I'm going into my second year of my kids. I still haven't done it yet. Yeah. And they're like, well, I was like, look, man, they got to go somewhere after this, right? Like, so my job, and it goes back to, I realized, like, I'm still in high school. Like, I'm still teaching high school. This is not a production company. So if I don't have kids that are passionate about this and have fun doing this, then I don't have anything. And that makes my after work so much harder when I'm trying to do a football game and I got a kid going, I don't want to go again because he's going to be talking about frame rates and ND filters. I don't want to deal with that. So building that passion, getting them a solid base is kind of where I'm at, what my big goals are. Seeing if they have that passion, seeing if they, do they want to do this in college? And I had a couple of kids do that this year. They went on to college and they're going to do some great things I'm really excited about. So that's really just my big goals, are develop that passion and get them a good base on, even if it's them understanding the rule of thirds, just something small where when they go and shoot, something to build off of. And that's kind of where I'm at.
Gotcha. So let's talk about this year in particular. What was the biggest challenge you had this year?
Biggest challenge this year, I would say keeping everybody on task. So, for example, the reason we didn't do new shows that much this year, half the class didn't really have an interest in that. They didn't want to be in front of a camera. They didn't want to talk on a camera. They didn't want to get up out of their chairs. They just wanted to edit. And so, and after giving them a couple of zeros, I was like, look, we can't, we got to figure something out. So if y'all want to edit, here's an editing project I would pull some raw video from. And the kids that wanted to do a new show, they kind of had to do it on their own. And I was okay with that. It was kind of like their own internet web show. I had like the Sports Minute and the Aggie Minute and all these things. And it kind of got them, that way my anchors were having to go out and gather. And the people who worked behind the scenes, they were having to get in front of it. So the people who wanted to do it, so it's just, I kind of had two classes. I had the class that was a traditional high school of, hey, everybody, we're going to learn Adobe today. Here's Adobe, learn it. And then I had the way that I think CTE is now, is people up and moving and doing things. So that was my biggest challenge, is just kind of keeping everybody on task and moving forward.
Gotcha. And, you're talking about realizing kind of where you've changed those things and growing as a teacher. One of my favorite administrator of all time, I guess I can't say that because there's a lot of administrators who get mad if I say that. One of my favorite administrators of all time, Jill Oldham, once told me, we were talking, and I almost shared the same thing with her. I was like, I feel like I'm doing these completely separate classes. And she said, you're in year 3. You're finding your stride. She's like, you figured it out. Now you have to figure out, now you have to just go, now you're just running the race. And so you are doing what's right, and that's a good thing. And I say that to reassure you of that. And again, back to an outsider looking in, I see those shows, and I see, and I know you're doing the content for the Friday nights and the Monday nights, all the nights of the week. But one of the big things that you've touched on that I want to kind of drill in on a little bit is that HERC project, because that's a big deal, and that takes a lot of time out of your classes, but has a lot of big things for your kids. Talk about that.
So there's nothing. I'm a sports guy through and through. I got into the first thing I did when I had a camera was I shot a documentary on a softball player, and I've always loved sports. Sports is always going to be my first love. If you took away sports and replaced it with HERC, I would be happy with it.
Okay.
It is, you have so many different, it's perfect for a school like this. We have everything from animal sciences to teacher and training to AV arts, as media production, media design. We have so many different pathways that do some really cool things. And the students are tasked with building a moon buggy. It can either be remote control or it can be human powered. And there's, NASA has all these technical things that I'm not even going to pretend that I know what they're talking about. It's really bad when a 15-year-old kid comes in and they're just like talking like they're a scientist in NASA, and you're like, yeah, buddy, great job. Like, I can't hang that on my fridge. I don't know what to do with it. And so it allows all of our shops, our precision machinery, additive machinery, and welding to come together and make these moon buggies. And we have our teacher in training. They'll go and teach STEM projects to the other schools, and all I have to do is document it. And that's the coolest part. Like, I get to go into the shops, and it gives my kids a beat. It gives them a beat, or they're like an embedded journalist. And so I got kids that would never go to think about going into engineering, going down to an engineering class and kind of getting it a little bit and being like, oh, this is cool. And so we get to come together and we, just document. We run their social media pages, and it's about, the amount of content. So once a week I have two students, and they kind of give me a plan at the end or at the beginning of the week. We'll execute that plan and schedule out posts every week for them, which leads into April. It goes from October to April, and it is at the end of the year, we all go down there, go to the Huntsville Space and Rocket Center. And I had more cameras on that track than NASA did for their live production. They had 4. I had 7 cameras on that track. I had GoPro, 360 camera, and then 5 kids scattered with cameras. So that's the thing, is like getting them to go and cover that live event that we're not in control of. Like, if it's a football thing, hey, I can't camera. Like, it puts them in somebody else's yard, and they have to figure it out. And so that's a really great thing, and it's a great kind of reward. They, get to go to a couple of nights up in Huntsville, and it's just a really cool collaborative project that we get to do.
So let me ask you this, totally random.
Yeah.
When you go to Huntsville, do you think of Double Dare?
Mm-mm.
Oh, there was always a prize as you got to go spend a week in the summer.
Space and Rocket Center.
Every time I go there, I'm like, Double Dare. Sorry.
And this is a side note, it only occurred to me like 10 years ago when everybody talked about Space Camp. They were talking about Huntsville.
Oh, really?
I was watching like the Goldbergs, and they were talking. But anyway,
sorry.
Yeah.
But every time I go through Huntsville, I'm like, Space Camp. I always wanted to do Double Dare.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was because I wanted to do Double Dare or because I wanted to win the chance to go to Space Camp. So, sorry, aside there. But one of the things that I think is great about that whole thing is what's hard to give kids in a high school classroom is the adult grind.
Yeah.
You wake up at the same time every day. You make the same cup of coffee every day. You drive the same route to work. But for high school kids, too often, I think, especially late in their careers, we try to go, hey, we're going to do all these fun things. And it's like, that's not preparing them for what happens when they walk across the stage. Yeah. If you're a photog for a news station, you report at the same time, you go to the same meeting. You do. Now, there's differences, but at the same time, you're riding with the same person, you're setting up the same, and I think that is one of the beautiful things about what you guys do, and one of the things that, you're talking about creating that dichotomy in your classroom. I think that is the stronger look, and it goes back to that content versus teaching curriculum.
Yeah, and the best thing, and I'll give you this story. This is probably one of my prouder moments of the year. talking about that grind, I had 2 students, and it really ended up being 1 student because she was just doing a phenomenal job, and I needed her hands on everything that was coming out of her because she was just killing it. And so that grind was put down, it filtered down to her because I was feeling the pressure. And so it became really like an employee. Like I was like, hey, we got to get, like, there was nothing, there was some yelling at times, like, hey, we got to get this done. And she took it really well. And there were times where I had to go back and apologize because I'm like, I'm sorry, your teammates made me mad. And so it gave her that realistic work environment. But the best thing that happened, this kid, at the beginning of the year, she would ask the age-old question, how long does this have to be? She was one of those kids, right? Yeah. So how long, we're going to edit this, how long does it have to be? She went from that to, we were editing the final project for HERC. And we're sitting there and I'm talking to her and she's like, I just need this last 30 seconds. I was like, okay, well, what was our story this year? Like, what did we want to do? If we did one thing, what would we have? She said, well, we just wanted to finish. Like, that's all we wanted. I was like, okay, so put it down. And so she pulled video and kind of tailored that last shot to feature the fact that we both finished the race. And so that was a really cool thing. And she loved to put a lot of effects and strobes in. And there was one, I just went in and snuck it out. I was like, I'm going to go delete this one. Showed it to the engineering class, and she made a beeline to me. And I'm talking a flash, 1 second in her video. She makes a beeline to me. She's like, you took my last strobe out. I go, did I? She's like, you did. And she came back up here, put it back in, and said, this is the copy that better make it tomorrow. I said, okay.
Wow.
It made that ownership, right? Like, that was her video. Like, I was just facilitating the things she needed to make it. That was her video, and that's something that Hart did. It gave her ownership, and that filtered over into every aspect of my program. She was my director on Thursday night baseball, and there were all those things, and so Hart it rounded out a student to make them make them a complete asset to my program.
Wow. Very, very cool. So when we started this, you said you had 30 minutes before you had to leave. We're at 27. So
yeah.
I want to let people know where they can find your stuff, see your kids' work, and anything else you want to share about your program.
So Aggie Vision on Facebook, aggievision.com is where we stream at, which we're kind of working some new deals on with that. But Aggie Vision on Facebook, AIA Lunarvators HP and AIA Lunarvators RC on Facebook is our HERC stuff if you're interested in that. And I think that's it. I think that's all of our, we don't do a lot of YouTube. I don't know, I know a lot of people do that, and that's something that we're but we have our own website, so we kind of stick with that. So we haven't really done a lot of YouTube. Instagram's kind of the same thing. My students, that was one thing they did. They kind of ran the Instagram account because I was like, I don't deal with that. Y'all deal with that. So they would kind of run that, and so yeah, the kids. There's if you're a teacher, there's some great ideas, man. I can't tell y'all how many times I will watch y'all's feeds and just steal y'all's ideas without thinking. And I tell my kids, hey, I saw this. Let's do it. So watch my stuff. There's some cool ideas maybe for you. It's great. Probably the thing I'm most proud of is my senior sign-outs, where I have the kids in the position that they're typically working, and their last game or something. Hey, I'm so and so, and this is my senior, and I'll throw some stuff on there. And so things like that, let's just steal each other's ideas. I'm all for that.
I love that senior sign-outs thing.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's pretty cool, especially if you've been in your role where you see these kids and you pour into them, and then you see the backside of that. So, well, cool, man. Well, thank you so much for giving me your last 30 minutes before we spend 2.5 days.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be
so
awesome.
I'm excited.
Honestly, last week I was like, oh, yes, boot camp. And see, for me, I've got this week. I've got Skills Nationals next week. The Georgia ACTE conference is the following week. So the next 3 weeks, it's just teachers. So I'm pretty excited about that. So, well, thank you again for spending some time with me. And if you're watching, listening, go out and make some awesome.
Oh, wait. You need an outro too? Let me guess. Thank you for watching Teaching to the Test Pattern, a stream semester production. I'm done. Call my agents and tell them never again.